Welcome to Modern Home Masterminds with Bespoke Brokers. I'm Shauna Glazier, designated broker and owner.
And I'm Brittany Williamson, associate broker with Bespoke Real Estate. Shauna and I are Bespoke Real Estate, and we're also your guides to modern luxury across the entire state of Arizona.
Each week, we chat with masterminds shaping the modern spaces. Do you want to get a behind-the-scenes look at your design build team's processes? Well, open communication and teamwork will lead you to a successful project.
From architects to builders, designers, and more, let's explore the art of modern living together.
All right. Welcome back, listeners. Do you love mid-century modern design like we do? If so, you're in for a treat because today's guest is Ryan Durkin, and he is an expert in mid-century furnishings and design.
That's right. Ryan is the owner of Modern Manor, which is a vintage modern showroom and online shopping. Also, they have a home staging service. Chances are, if you've seen any mid-century modern home in the Valley on the market, kind of like the Albedo that we had last year in Paradise Gardens, you have seen their staging services because they did help us stage that one.
That's right. That's right. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. We love a good mid-century modern vibe. Why do you think mid-century modern design continues to be so popular, especially here in the Valley?
Wow. Well, first, because it's awesome. It's just great. Everybody loves it. But no, I think it started as this sort of movement after World War II. And it sort of just kind of got rid of all the fluff from before that. And people still sort of identify with that these days, just no muss, no fuss, function, form and function. And the way that it fits into modern homes, back in the day, every home had little chopped up little rooms and everything. And with open spaces and straight lines, mid-century modern furniture just kind of works. And it works kind of in any aesthetic. It just kind of can blend in, or it can be a statement piece. Mm-hmm. And so, modern culture has grasped onto it as well. So it's sort of in the ethos now. Every commercial, you don't even notice it, but there's like an Eames chair in the background or whatever. It's like subliminal messaging or whatever. So,
Yeah, I have noticed it in a lot of places. The one thing that I've gotten from I just walked through a house yesterday that it's full of mid-century modern furniture. It's a rental that we're going to be listing.
Yeah.
And the one thing the current tenant said, it's so low.
Yeah.
Everything is so low.
We get that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
we get that a lot. It's funny because we get a lot. I mean, what we do is the vintage version of it, right? Mm-hmm. There's plenty of opportunities to buy mid-century modern style West Elm and Crate and Barrel and, all of that stuff. But we do the original stuff. And sometimes the way we get it is from older people who don't want it well, obviously when people pass, that's obvious. Yes. But sometimes it's just older people that have had it and they don't want it anymore because it's, they're old and they're like, dude, I don't want to get up and down all the time in this low furniture. So we hear that a lot. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. So how did Modern Manor come about? Like, how did you get into this business?
Well, the short answer is my wife and I got married and wanted to decorate our condo and didn't want to go to IKEA. So we started going to estate sales. To extrapolate on that a little bit, it was like we just kind of, both her and we love design. I'm a collector. Like I love to collect. And I've always been very entrepreneurial and buy, sell. I just like that, It's not even like about the money as much as find a thing that's like a treasure that you pay a little bit for and then sell it to someone who really loves it for more than you paid for it. The process alone I just love it. It's fun. It could be anything, frankly. But yeah, we were young and married and had a condo to decorate, and it was way more fun for us to go estate sailing every weekend and find unique treasures than just go to whatever furniture store and have the same thing our neighbors had. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like we just wanted it to be more fun than that. Well, then that turned into, we'd go to an estate sale and we'd be like, well, we already have a couch, but that one's $50. I bet I could sell it for more, stick it in the garage. And the garage got full, and we were selling things on Craigslist and OfferUp, or I guess OfferUp didn't exist back then, but wherever
eBay,
we
probably
did some eBay. Yeah. Furniture's a little tough on eBay because of shipping, but we did sell tons of other things on eBay. And then we were like, wow, maybe we should get like an antique mall booth, So we did. And within like a month, we doubled the size of our booth because it was doing well. And we had met a guy who was also doing this and had an antique mall booth. And he kept being like, we should open a store, And I said, dude, I don't have time for that. I had a T-shirt business and I was real busy with that. And I said, I tell you what, you find a spot and you sit the shop and I'll be your partner and we'll open up a store. And he did. And he found what is now our warehouse over in the Melrose district. Found that that spot, and it happened to be right next door to a shop that used to exist called Phoenix Metro Retro. And we were like, well, and the rent was really cheap, and it just made sense. And so we partnered. His name was Jeremy Burdell. He's still alive.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, great guy, by the way. But we partnered, and it was my wife and I and him and his wife, and we opened up Modern Manor. And then about 1.5 years, 2 years in, we bought him out. He was also like a ceramics teacher and had a bunch going on and just didn't really want to do it anymore. So it's been Kylie and I since then.
What's funny is you mentioned just having fun with the process and finding things and doing things. I wonder, we weren't going to talk about this, but it just brought up in my mind. I went to Modern Manor looking for just some random pieces. You went there, and I found these 2 big smiley faces. I know that you've seen them at my house. These 2 big smiley faces made out of Schwinn bicycle parts.
So cool.
They're what, like 36 by 36?
Sure. Yeah, something like that.
So these 2 big, a bright green and yellow, and didn't even realize. So he actually made them. You were the artist on them, which is funny. I mean, you must have just loved that process. So what was the story with Landis?
So Landis is a bicycle shop in town. They're the oldest shop in town. They've been around since 1912, which is when Arizona became a state. And they were originally downtown, and at some point moved to Indian School in 7th Avenue in like the early 50s. And since then, they've got multiple locations or whatever, but their oldest current location is right next door to Modern Manor. Mm-hmm. And so one day, one of the employees like walked over and just said, hey, you guys want to buy some vintage bikes? And so my employees called me. They're like, hey, you got to come over here. So all that to be said, I ended up meeting with the owner of Landis, who's like I don't know how many generation of Landis, but whatever. And he basically was like, I'm retiring. My niece is going to take over, but I've been in charge of this since the early 80s, and we've been collecting old Schwinns since then. But they don't sell old bikes, though. They just would take them on trade or whatever. So they had like 200 vintage Schwinns and others, but mostly Schwinns, that he was like, I just kind of feel like I need to sell them. I don't know what to do with them. So I bought them all, amongst other parts and all
some
kinds
neon
of
signs too.
I got the neon sign. The neon signs was super cool. It was actually on a shop from like the 30s that was down the street at like 19th Avenue, and they went out of business in the 60s. Landis bought all their stuff, brought that neon sign to Landis and hung it up. And then in the early 80s, when Indian School widened, they had to take the neon sign down because it was like hanging over the road, and it just went into their warehouse. And then I got that, so I have that. It's still in my shop. It's all lit up. It's really cool. But anyway, yeah, we bought all these bikes, and I flew in my brother-in-law from Maryland, who owns a bike shop, and we spent like a week putting them all together and tuning them all up, and had a big event where we sold bikes, and with the parts I made art, which is something that I do quite a bit of because I'm kind of a hoarder. And so I love to save things that would maybe otherwise not have any value, but I still think they're cool and have some sort of historical relevance, or not even historical, but just like nostalgic relevance, and turn it into art. So the bike parts, I got to give credit to my wife on the smiley faces, by the way.
They're awesome. It's like the old saddle is the nose, the fender is the smile, and like the pedals are the eyes.
Funny thing is, I'm in my carport. I had decided like, okay, we're going to do this bike show. We're going to have all these bikes. I got the neon sign and we're going to make art from bike parts. I need to do like 10 pieces. So I'm out there trying to be inspired and I'm like buried in a pile of bike parts on my carport and I'm arranging them and I'm like doing it my way.
Yeah.
And I'm stressed. And Kylie walks out and she's like, you want some help? Which I do the art. She doesn't, she's great at lots of things in the design. I mean, she's the secret sauce behind Modern Manor for sure. But the art thing is just the thing that I do. And she goes, that looks like a smiley face. And I'm like, go for it. And she just starts putting together these cute versions of like faces with all these bike parts. And I was like, brilliant.
Yes.
Let's go. You just saved me so much time and it's better than what I was doing. So that's how those
awesome.
came apart.
And especially for cyclists.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of a special
For us,
thing.
for us.
Right.
Totally.
All right. That was a fun side topic.
Yeah.
All right. What's your approach for curating pieces for Modern Manor? How do you decide like what makes the cut? I'm sure you get a lot of people wanting to get their
all
stuff
the time.
in.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get phone calls, text, emails every single day, literally every single day, sometimes multiple times a day with people trying to sell me stuff. And it's not always good stuff. You know, sometimes it's like mattresses. You know how the internet works. Somebody finds our shop and somehow we got put in some category on some search engine that's like used furniture. And they call me up thinking I'm just like a mattress store or something.
A regular consignment kind
yeah,
of thing.
or, you know, people that don't understand what mid-century modern furniture is, which I get it. You know, not everybody knows what that is, but they just go, it's vintage. It's from the 50s. And it's like, well, they made French Provincial back then and Mediterranean back then. They made all the styles, just like today. Back then, they made all the styles. We want one of those styles, you know. You can go to Robin Stuckey right now and buy all kinds of different styles of furniture or living spaces or whatever. But so they'll call me and say, it's, you know, my grandma had it in the 60s. And I'm like, okay, send me pictures. And it's, you know, gold gilded, whatever. And it's fine, but it's not what we do. So the decision-making process has several parts, but the main ones being it has to fit the criteria. Like it has to be authentically vintage most of the time. So like if it's an Eames lounge, a real one, I'll still buy that, even if it was made 2 years ago, because it's real, it's authentic, right? But I don't want like a new fake Eames lounge just because it looks like that. I can't sell that because my customers come in and expect the real deal. So it has to be authentically vintage of the period. But then the other criteria, frankly, is I just have to like it. That's always been me and Kylie. We've always just gone, do we think it's cool or not? And we've just always gone with our gut. And sometimes the thing we think is cool doesn't fit the criteria. We just go, that's not mid-century modern, but it's old. It's got to be old. Like that, you know, we can't be selling new things, right? Yeah. But we just go, it's not technically mid-century modern. That's an antique. But for whatever reason, it's got the right lines and the right look. It'll juxtapose perfectly with what we've got going on. We're going to buy it. And that's served us very well because it's provided for sort of an eclectic mix within Modern Manor. Like we've got this vein of what we do, mid-century modern, but we're in charge, so we can do whatever we want, right? And we can blur the lines a little bit. So it's just what we like.
That's very cool. And it's worked for you, obviously, so
Yeah,
far.
totally.
How would people, do you prefer people just to text you photos
Yeah.
or call you?
And I always tell them, text me you're not bugging me.
Yeah.
Blow me up. Worst thing I say is no. But,
do you go out and try to procure items as well? So do you still go to estate sales and do that
yeah.
sort of thing?
So we when we first started, that was like the ritual, right? Every weekend we were at estate. It was so fun. Treasure hunting all the time. That process has gotten a lot harder because there's a billion more people doing it now than there was when we started. So, you know, if any estate sale has anything good, they post the pictures online and there's a line out the door and you got to get there 5 hours early and sleep in your car. And it's like, we did a little bit of that, but you know, we have 3 kids now. I mean, we didn't have any kids, you know, it was like, so we will go like a date for us, like a real good date is like wake up on Thursday morning and drive to Sun City and go estate sailing. That's our favorite thing to do.
I love it.
Yeah. Way better than like Friday night cocktails. We'll do that, but Given the
estate.
choice, if we could like Friday night go estate sailing, we would absolutely do that.
That is so
way
cool.
more.
That's so fun.
So we do, yeah, we do. But I don't do as much like hunting Craigslist and proactively seeking it out as I used to, mostly because it comes to me, which is a wonderful blessing for us because, that we get a lot of stuff that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I know we had a client who had a piece that you have the real version, the original version of. His was a replica.
Yeah.
How do you balance that sort of thing? I mean, if it, like you mentioned with the Eames stuff, some of it you will take,
Sure,
and some of it not.
Yeah, so replica.
And how do you know?
Yeah,
I think that's a good question.
So that is a learned thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like any other profession. If you're a doctor, you know what you're doing because you went to school for a very long time and learned all that stuff. Not to compare myself to a doctor in any way, but I've been doing this
you
for
have an education?
Yeah, I have an education of, just doing this repetition. And it's like, you just do it enough and you start to learn. I mean, I remember like the first time I got a fake Eames lounge. It was a vintage fake, which we will still sell those because they've been faking those things since Eames lounges came out. Those came out in 1956. The 60s were littered with fake versions of Eames lounges. But, to us, that's still a vintage mid-century modern piece. And we sell it as, this is an Eames lounge style chair. It's not like we're trying to tell people it's an Eames lounge, right? We say it what it is. But I remember the first time I got one, I must have spent weeks trying to figure out if it was real or fake. Every rabbit hole on the internet, every little blog that said, look for this screw, blah, blah, blah. Now I can just tell you like right now. Just look at it. I don't even have to touch it. I can tell you if it's real or fake because I've had enough real ones and I've had enough fake ones. I know exactly what they look like and what the difference is. It's just repetition. When it comes to replicas, I mean, the piece you're talking about, the replica, it's technically a licensed piece it's a replica in the sense that it's not from the original time period, but I think it was Modernica got the license to make them, like the license from Herman Miller, and they made them and they reproduced them to spec and sold them. And so that's okay. We're good with that. It's real. It's licensed. It's authentic. It's new, but it still looks the same and it's real. It's not like IKEA went, we're going to do a version of it. Like we would never do that, and then a real one, I mean, there's very, very obvious differences. Yeah.
How do you collaborate with local like architects, builders, interior designers, real estate agents?
Most of our collaboration in that space is with staging, home staging, which that was born from, everyone I know is in real estate. I've born and raised in Phoenix, so I've been here a long time, and all of my friends from like college, long before any of us were doing any of what we're doing, for whatever reason, like 80% of them are in some version of real estate. They either do loans or flip homes or they're agents or whatever. And so naturally when Kylie and I were doing furniture, my buddy John Glutch was like, hey, you should stage this house. You guys got all this furniture. You're good at design. You should stage a house. And we were like, sure. And, back then we were also like young and watching HGTV. And we were like, we're going to be like stagers like that, So it was kind of exciting. Yeah. It was also like a new adventure. So we did. And for years, not very many years, a couple years, we staged using our inventory from Modern Manor. But we quickly grew and it was like, we can't do that. We don't have anything to sell. Everything's in houses and our store was like empty. So we had to start buying new inventory to use for staging, which is now how we do that. But most of the collaboration that we do with designers and architects and builders is from a staging perspective. We've done some design stuff. We've definitely done some consulting, but most of the time it's staging.
Yeah. And that's how we met.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you've staged multiple properties, and we specialize in modern homes and mid-century modern homes. So it is a great process working with you guys. I don't know if you or you send a colleague will come walk through the property with us, talk about what we want, what rooms, and then you show up with a truck, you stage it, and then the pieces can be purchased by potential buyers if they want some of the pieces, right?
That's not our goal, but we will sell them. Sure. Yeah. We don't go into it putting price tags on things and hoping it'll sell. Frankly, I need it back because I got another house to stage. But yeah, we get asked all the time, and we've sold everything from whole houses full of stuff to just the couch. Sure.
Yeah, I know it makes such a huge difference to have you come in and stage a property.
Well, and I feel biased because people are always like, well, does it make a difference? I'm like, well, you're paying me to do it. So my bias would say yes. But the honest truth, in my opinion, is the cost to stage a home is a drop in the bucket in the grand scheme of the home and what it's going to sell for. The commission the agent's going to make is way, way, way more than what we charge. There's so much money in that pot. Spend $5,000 or whatever it is on staging the house. Just raise your price by that price.
Yeah, like, and whatever. The data shows that staged homes do sell quicker and for more money.
Well, it really, the primary spaces, if you can get the living
you don't
kitchen,
need all the bedrooms.
Because there's so many people that walk in and they don't see how it's, they don't see the chandelier and recognize that that's where the dining table is going to go. Like there's a lot of people that don't understand it. So just coming in with the primary spaces and the bedroom.
Especially in like an open concept kind of home where there are no distinct spaces.
It helps to define the spaces, but also just like, it's like jewelry. You know what I mean? Like I always tell people, because sometimes we'll have like a designer involved and they'll come in halfway through and they'll be like, oof, I don't know. And I'm like, listen, we just got out of the shower. Our hair is wet. We got the dress on, but like we have not done our makeup and we don't have our jewelry. Don't judge us yet. Just go away. Come back. Because really that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's like, this is the jewelry of the house. You come in and it's like, oh, this is what it could be. Yes, from a space that helps, but sometimes the spaces are pretty obvious. It still helps to go, look how beautiful this could be. Look what you could do with the right pieces. So
for sure. So can you tell us a little bit about Valentine?
Sure. So Valentine was a completely unexpected, all of this has been unexpected, by the way. Like I told you, it's not like we set out to open up a mid-century modern furniture store. It was like we were just buying stuff for ourselves, and then it snowballed into a furniture store. And then we were having a furniture store, and that snowballed into a staging job, which now is that business. And the restaurant's the same thing, same exact thing. I drove by the Paris Laundry building every day for a decade or whatever it was. And I always said, man, that's the coolest building on 7th Avenue or, in the Melrose District anyway. I love it. One day somebody's going to do something great there. It's not going to be a dry cleaner forever. And someday it's going to be something super cool. And then all of a sudden I get a text from, I think, one of my employees that was like, dude, the Paris Laundry building, they went out of business. What's going on? So I instantly called Allison King of Modern Phoenix. I said, what's the story? And she's like, yeah, they're going to sell it, but it's not protected. So like they could tear it down. And she's like, we talked, and she's like, you got to save it. So I actually called Craig DeMarco, who's a buddy of mine he owns LGO and Upward Projects and all those things, him and his wife, Chris. And him and I had always talked about doing something together. And I said, dude, you got to, let's buy. I couldn't afford to buy it by myself, first of all. And I said, let's buy this and do something. And he was like, let's go, But that didn't work out just because it was so close to his other concepts, and they were in the middle of this big thing, and he didn't have the brain space to do a new concept. And so I then moved on to another guy that I knew who's in commercial real estate, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we bought it, and we didn't really have a plan for the building. We were just like, let's buy it, and then we'll figure it out. But it had a vault because it was a dry cleaner, and the vault was so cool. It was for storing fur coats, and we instantly went, well, we got to do a speakeasy in here. Like that's kind of the first thing we thought of. We were like, let's do a speakeasy, which then turned into, well, you probably want to support the speakeasy with a restaurant, but then parking's an issue with this or whatever. And it just kind of turned into like Modern Manor was never going to move. I wanted to buy another warehouse for my staging business because I needed a place to keep all that stuff. It was like infiltrating my showroom. Then it just kind of turned into, well, I guess what if the showroom moved into this space and we used the original space as our warehouse, and then we did a restaurant in the front. Okay. So we kind of put the APB out, and everybody wanted to do it. Like we got called by lots of local restaurants that you guys would know that wanted, to do location number 2 or 3 or whatever. But of those interviews or whatever you want to call them, Blaze and Chad sat down with me, and they had a new concept in mind. They were like, they were at the time working for Chris Bianco, and they were like, we want to do, our own thing. They're both from here. Chad had moved back from San Francisco to open a restaurant with Blaze, and I liked the idea of doing something new rather than doing something again. And they had the right energy. That sounds cheesy, but like I just liked what they felt like they wanted to do, And so I said, all right, let's go with these guys. So we partnered, and it was grueling because the city and all that, But not to mention COVID happened in the middle of it, But we bought the building, I want to say in 17, Modern Manor moved in 18, and then it wasn't until the end of 2020 that we opened up Valentine. Valentine is named Valentine because Arizona became a state on Valentine's Day. Oh. And the Speakeasy is called Bar 1912 because that happened in 1912. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, my wife and I designed it to look, very much Southwestern, but still keep with the modern, mid-century modern vibes. And then Blaze and Chad created a beautiful concept. And I always tell people the reason the restaurant is so awesome has nothing to do with me at all. If you like the way it looks, you're welcome.
No, the food is delicious.
It's amazing.
The cocktails are amazing.
Yes.
The speakeasy, the service.
Yes.
You have a coffee bar. Yeah, I mean, just so our listeners know, the vibe, you can go in and shop at Modern Manor, check out your store, and then get coffee or get some cocktails at dinner.
Yes.
And then the speakeasy after dinner. Or, I'm sure a lot of your clientele just comes in for the speakeasy.
Oh, yeah, it's its own thing. It's a, go to dinner and then go to the speakeasy. Yeah. Or it's a like, hey, let's just go into the speakeasy, Mm-hmm. I should mention Chad has moved on, so it's just Blaze now. But yeah, Donnie, the chef, our chef, he came from the Gladly, and he's the semifinalist James Beard nominee for the 2nd year in a row this year. Wow. Our pastry chef, Crystal's a 3rd-time semifinalist nominee this year.
It's delicious. You need reservations most of the time, right?
You do. In there? Yeah, it would be wise. Yeah, if you're going on a date, just 2, you could probably pop in, and depending on the season. But yeah. You probably want to call ahead.
All right. So we want to ask you a couple rapid fire questions. Go. Yeah, you're ready for it. What's your favorite piece of mid-century modern furniture?
Oof. I'd have to say my Papa Bear chair.
Papa Bear chair?
Papa Bear chair, yeah. Designed by Hans Wegner. He's like the Michael Jordan of Danish designers. Okay. And he did a chair called the Papa Bear chair. And I sit in it every morning.
What does it look like?
I know, I'm going to have to Google this.
You should Google it. It's like this mid-century Danish wingback with these arms that stick out, and they have wooden paws.
Oh, here we go. Our studio is pulling it up. That's the Papa Bear chair.
That's a lot of fake Papa Bear chairs, but there's a couple real ones in there. There you go. The white one on the left, that one.
That's a real Papa Bear chair?
That's a real Papa Bear chair with that on.
Awesome.
I actually have 2 of them.
All right.
What is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Oh, gosh. I don't think it would have anything to do with my business.
That's okay.
Yeah. It would be slow down. Don't stress.
Good.
Basically.
That's good for life and business, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
What's your favorite cocktail?
Old fashioned. Okay. Yeah.
If someone is on a budget, real or replica?
Oof. It depends on what they want. I would say real every time for so many reasons, but you can't get certain things real if you're on a budget. Mm-hmm. So, but real just lasts longer. It really does. Yeah. It stands that there's a reason real has been around for 60, 70 years. Replica, you can spend the money, but it will die in a few years. Yeah. So if you can squeeze it, it's worth the money.
Good answer. What's your favorite thing about living in Phoenix, Arizona?
Oh, geez. So I'm born and raised here. I love this place. Everybody's always like, it's hot. We were in Santa Barbara this weekend. I said, yeah, you're right. It's hot. Don't come. There's too many people. But I love the weather, honestly.
We're the opposite. We're like, come to Arizona.
I know. You want all the business. Yeah. No, I love the weather. I mean, we get the rep for being hot, right? But like from October to probably May, it's gorgeous, right? And then you got to weather the heat. And I look at it as a good thing. Sweating's good for you. Or just go to Flagstaff a couple times, or whatever. The food is incredible. I have been all over the world. I spent 6 weeks in Europe all summer this past, and nothing like this. It's just not. And everybody's like, oh, Italian food in Italy. No, it's better here. That's my opinion. And there's tons to do.
Yeah.
There's never ending things to do. And the people. I love the people.
Yeah. Those are all truly great things about Phoenix for sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing everything with our listeners. We really appreciate it. We are going to link all of your contact information in our show notes, but if you want to, could you tell people where they could find you?
Yeah, pretty easy. Our website has all the information, so it's modernmanorphx.com. Manor's M-A-N-O-R, like an old house. But that'll just basically take you to our Instagrams. So Modern Manor.
I did
at
notice
Modern
that.
Manor, right? We've got Modern Manor. We've got Modern Manor Showroom. Modern Manor Instagram talks about the whole project, the restaurant, the staging, all of it. Then there's Modern Manor Staging, Modern Manor Showroom, and then there's Valentine. They've got their own Instagrams as well.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you. All right, that's it for today's episode of Modern Home Mastermind. If you'd enjoyed the episode, please leave us a review, like, and rate us.
Thanks to our guest for sharing his insights and to you for learning about everything modern with us.
All right, and if you're ready to take the next step in your real estate journey, please reach out to us at Bespoke Real Estate. And until next time, keep living, loving everything modern.